It's the last month of the year. Last month of the year. Ho 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 ho. So, time to do a recap. Starting with the books I finished first, and the books I finished last. Well, let's get to it. The first book I finished in the month of December was Refraction by Christopher Hines, and I gave that book 2 stars. Um, you know, just your run of the mill. Ooh, they were experimenting on as kids, and now they've got powers. Now they're adults, and the truth, and all that jazz, and the military. Nothing super new. Also, nothing super special. So, 2 stars. The next book I finished in the month of November, because they're all books I finished in the month of November, was The Frog at the Window by Scott Langto. Langto? Langto. It's a Langto. Scott Langto. Frog at the Window. Very cute, very Christmassy, very holiday, very appropriate for the kiddies, I thought. So I gave that book a 5 stars. Children's book, yes, but it was precious. You know, traditions, Christmas, holiday traditions, and the kindness towards animals. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was 5 stars for me. So moving on. And the next book I finished in the month of November was Girls of Brackenhill, Kate Moretti. I gave this one 2 stars. I really wanted to like the main character. I didn't. She had a tough life. Abused child could explain away a lot of her behavior, but then also she had no healthy relationships and just self-sabotage the whole time. And then she ends up with a semi-happy ending. It's like, do I want that happy ending for her anyway? Because the guy she ends up with is trash regardless. I didn't. I'm not recommending this book. So 2 stars for me. Fourth book I finished in the month of November was Devil's Creek by Todd Kiesling. I gave this one 4 stars. Middle of Kentucky, a bunch of some small town, goes hard religious cult real fast. I enjoyed it. I don't know. It was weird because the Klan was in it as a thing, just a part of life, which is like weird at the same time, but like also okay. But it was also like, oh hey, they're trash. But also, I was just disgusted by the way, I don't know how to say it. Like we got it was a sexual cult, like a sexually abusive cult, but it was sometimes done like too much. Like we didn't, you could have pulled it back a bit at points, in my opinion. It was needlessly explicit at some points for me. But overall, I liked the story. It was disgusting and revolting and horrific in that sense. I thought the cult aspect was really done well. At least that's how I felt as I read it. Because you can always read a book, go back to it, and say this was, and look at it from a different angle, and completely agree with that angle. But for me, I gave this book 4 stars. Yeah, yeah. Besides the whole, oh, these children are abused, and the random explicit scenes between the evil people, the corrupt people. I don't know. It was. Yeah. I could have done with less explicit detailing when it was incestuous scenes. Could have done with a whole lot less. But I enjoyed the story enough to give it 4 stars, so I did. The next book I read in the month, next book I finished in the month of November was Great Pilgrimage Sites of Europe by Derry Brabs. I enjoyed this. I feel like it was a visual tour of the world, so I enjoyed it a lot. Don't really have much else to say, but I enjoyed it. I didn't necessarily get to read the entirety of the book because the copy I got from NetGalley was missing maybe a third-ish of text to accompany the pictures, but then there was a bunch of text after the fact. So I didn't go to I think it was Scandinavia and the UK and maybe France. No, I'm not sure if it was France, but it was, there were just some places that I wasn't able to get full detail on. But as a whole, in terms of showing the architecture, giving maybe little bits of history accompanying each little blurb that had accompanying text, I really enjoyed it. And so I gave that one 5 stars. It's the second 5-star book of November. Next book I read, Frozen 2, Dangerous Secrets, the story of Iduna and Agnar, Mary Mancusi. I had just finished watching with my family Frozen 2. We were all like, well, maybe me and my sister, we were like, oh, talking theories, talking theories, talking world building, talking world expansion. And then I saw soon after that this book was available on NetGalley, so I requested it. And it ended up being a bit more mature than I would have thought, because in my mind, oh, it's Frozen 2. This is for, like, the younger kids. And then maybe, like, the mid-teens. But no, it's, like, for the mid-teens and up. Or, like, the older teens and up. Which makes sense, because it's a bit more, risque for Disney Frozen material. But I enjoyed the whole origin story aspect of it. It was very cute. It was a lot better written than I expected. I thought it was going to be, again, geared for, like, a younger audience, but no, it was really well written. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I gave it 5 stars as well, because it was a cute romance story. You had allusions to things in the movies, to the Frozen canon, the Frozen universe, whatever. You had allusions to it, but because of the movie, I was confused. I was like, so is the mother Adahala now that she's speaking to her? I still don't get that whole aspect of Frozen 2. She went to Adahala to do what? To find out what? To just realize something? Why did she see her mother and only her mother? How did no one know that these girls were mixed phenotypically? The father's genes were just that strong? I don't know. And then also, the one who likes the reindeer, isn't he? Questions to be answered later on. So I gave that one 5 stars. The next book I finished in the month of November was graphic novel, The Sumerian, Volume 1, Jean-David Morvan, Regis Autier, and I forget the name of the original author. Robert E. Howard. So, they were uncensored, as violent as it was meant to be, all this stuff, wow. It was going to be some new type of level of unrestraint. Unrestrained, whatever. Wow. And it was like, it wasn't, I've seen worse. It wasn't any type of, oh my gosh, my eyes, boundaries are being pushed. Wow. Nudity like I've never seen it before. Especially not associated, when you think about associated with Conan. It's not anything crazy. You could watch the movies and it'd be crazier than this. What I do appreciate, though, just 2 stories of Robert E. Howard's were illustrated in this volume. You had the whole text of it after each respective one. You had the text of the original story, and I appreciated that. That's like added context. So in that sense, I think that was really well done. But overall, the writing is weird. The source, you have to questions about the source material. If you're a source material fan, maybe you won't take as much issue with it as I did. But I am not super crazy on the source material. So overall, like as a adaptation, illustration, whatever, I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed the inclusion of the stories after each illustrated rendition. But I actually feel like the illustrated, edited renditions were better than the original half the time. So, 3 stars for me. Next book I finished in the month of November. Maybe outright the one I liked the least of the 9 I read in the month. The Siren and the Deep Blue Sea, Carolyn Sparks. Where to begin? You know, parts of it just read like this romance smut type of, thing that a lot of these romance historical type fantasy books do. But then, and this is, I guess, the last book in the series, it seemed like. And, they're finally down to finding out the last two. Initially, thinking the last two of this big cabal of 5 people who were plotting in the whole world. One of them turns out to be the surrogate father to one of the characters we focus on in this book. And he just dies. So no real consequence for him, except for his own would-be admission of guilt, would-be admission of feeling one way or another. But no real consequences for him. And then everything goes off of his word and his point of view. He feels like this woman was this way, so she is 100% this way. Everyone else, everything else is a lie. This woman who was supposed to be this big, bad, big schemer, oh my gosh, existential threat to the realm, the entirety of the realm. One, she's literally not doing anything at the moment in terms of like trying to go against one of these other nations. She's just chilling on her island with her army at the time of soldiers in training. Yes, child soldiers, but soldiers in training. They're not actively marching on anything else. Maybe one of them actually goes outside and has experience doing things, but the rest of them are doing nothing. So it's not like they posed any real threat, did any big thing that we have to say, we've got to find them and root them out in this book. If you're like me, where you just, read this book and have no idea of anything else. Fine. So no big threat. Once we're on the island, she's so dumb. She doesn't suss out anything. Everything must be, doesn't question anything. Is caught so unaware. She's not a threat at all. At all. She's so evil, but we don't really see her being, so evil. She changed someone. She cursed someone. I guess she had killed someone before, but also the majority of the main characters, it would seem to be, are all versed in warfare and statecraft. All these children, these poor children, but it seems like you were fighting since you were maybe a year older than they were. It didn't make sense for me. It didn't make sense for me. And then, he said, the boy I like says my mom is super evil. So of course, no matter what, I'm with him. Trying to get to know my mother. My mother thinks her lover who's dying is here. But for some reason, she never tries to go in to comfort him. There's no tension of will she find out it's not actually him? None of that. But some of the scenes were cute. In terms of the romance smutty aspect, that's probably the better scenes, realistically. But it annoyed me so much. I was very close to giving it 1, but I gave it 2 stars in the end. And then the final book I read in the month of November, the final book I finished in the month of November, I Sang You Down from the Stars, Tasha Spillett Sumner. I gave this one 4 stars. Lovely ode from a mother to her daughter, recalling the preparation for her daughter's arrival while she was pregnant, right? How that played into her life once she arrived. Very lovely. And it was written by an Indigenous author, and it was illustrated by an Indigenous illustrator, I guess. So I appreciated that aspect. I appreciated the cultural references we're getting in story. I, as an adult, would have liked more. Because I it sounds fantastic. But we didn't get as much as I would have liked. And I think, even not as an adult, that would have benefited a younger audience as well. So I gave this 4 stars. Because without as much emphasis on that story, on that aspect of the story, it's just a very general, cute story. So I gave it 4 stars. And those are the 9 books I read in the month of November. I'm reading a good amount in December. I'm trying to read at least 13 more because at the end of November I was at 137 books read this year. I'm trying to get to at least 150. I'm writing one down. I have a couple books expiring in the next couple days, so I'm going to have to be reading like every other day. But I think I can get there. So, thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.